All right, let's jump right in. We usually think of product safety as, just another box you have to check, a chore. But what if I told you it's actually one of the smartest business moves you can make? Today, we're going to break down how to turn safety compliance from a cost you have to pay into a real competitive advantage. So to really get why this matters so much, let's start with a really big number. $1 trillion. That is the estimated price tag every single year for consumer product incidents right here in the US. We're talking injuries, deaths, property damage, the whole shebang. It's a massive figure that shows you the sheer scale of what's at stake.
And look, this isn't some abstract problem. It's getting more urgent by the day. This number right here, 909, that's the record number of product recalls we saw in just one quarter of 2024, a 5-year high. So this is happening right now, and it's happening more often than ever before. Which brings us to our first big point, the incredibly high stakes of doing nothing. A lot of companies are, whether they realize it or not, taking a huge gamble by just treating safety as an afterthought. And as we're about to see, the house almost always wins.
At the heart of it all, it really comes down to a choice between two completely different ways of thinking. You've got the reactive approach. Basically, you wait for something to go wrong, for someone to get hurt, and then you scramble to put out the fire. Or there's the proactive approach, where you build systems from the ground up to stop those fires from ever starting. So why is being reactive such a terrible bet right now? Well, because the regulators are not playing around anymore. Agencies like the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the CPSC, they've gotten way more aggressive. They are actively hunting for companies that cut corners, and they are not shy about making a very public, very painful example out of them. And here's what that pain looks like in real dollars. $19 million. That's the fine Peloton had to pay because they failed to report a defect in their treadmills, a defect that tragically led to a child's death. This is way beyond a slap on the wrist. We're talking about a serious financial hit.
But believe it or not, even that can seem small compared to a total meltdown. The Takata airbag recall, it cost the company an almost unbelievable $24 billion. It was such a catastrophic failure that it literally drove the entire company into bankruptcy. That is the ultimate price for inaction.
And this isn't just about a couple of big, scary stories you see in the news. The trend is clear. In the 2023 fiscal year alone, CPSC fines shot up by 64% to over $52 million. The message couldn't be clearer. The penalties are going up, and the regulators mean business. Okay, so if being reactive is a losing game, how do you actually get proactive? Well, it all starts with the foundation. It starts with building a genuine culture of safety deep inside your organization. And this isn't about a binder full of rules, it's about a fundamental shift in mindset. So how do you build this culture? Well, it really rests on a few key pillars. First, it has to come from the very top. Leadership has to walk the talk. It means making sure every single employee feels empowered to raise their hand and report a concern without any fear. It means weaving safety into everything, from training to performance reviews. And of course, you need to have clear, safe channels for people to do that reporting. At the end of the day, the goal is pretty simple. You want to make safety everyone's job. It can't just be on the compliance officer down the hall. It has to be the designer thinking about it, the engineer, the marketing team, the person on the factory floor, everyone. When everybody feels that ownership, your entire organization becomes this incredible safety net.
Now, a great culture is absolutely essential, but you also need a playbook, a real formal framework to put all those good intentions into action.
And that playbook is what we call a Product Safety Compliance Program, or a PSCP. You can think of it like the master operating system for all things safety. It's a formal, structured set of rules and processes designed to make sure your products are safe and compliant from the first sketch to the final shipment. So what's in this playbook? Well, a really effective one boils down to these 5 key things. First, you have to know the rules inside and out. Then, you design safety in from the very start. You don't just try to bolt it on at the end. You have to test like crazy, not just to pass a test, but to see how it might fail in the real world. Then, you document everything. And finally, and this is huge, you make sure your suppliers are playing by the same rules. And I really want to double-click on that documentation point because it is so important. This advice, document, that comes straight from the CPSC itself. And why? Because if something does go wrong, those records are your only proof that you did everything you could.
They show you took this seriously every single step of the way.
Now, a great program isn't something you just set up once and forget about. The truly resilient companies get that safety is always evolving. You have to be always ready and always improving.
The best way to think about this is like a continuous loop. You're constantly monitoring all your data, customer reviews, warranty claims, internal audits. You analyze all that feedback to find your blind spots and weak links. Then you use those insights to go back and strengthen your processes. It's this constant cycle of learning that makes your whole system smarter and safer over time.
And you know what? Being proactive even means being ready for the worst-case scenario. Having a detailed recall plan ready to go isn't admitting defeat. It's a sign of a really mature, strong organization. Knowing exactly who does what and being able to act fast can turn a potential brand-killing disaster into a manageable event.
So when you actually put all these pieces together, you've got the culture, you've got the playbook, you've got that continuous improvement loop, something really powerful starts to happen. You get to the ultimate payoff. You finally turn compliance into a true competitive advantage.
Just look at the difference when you put them side by side. The reactive company, it's always in crisis mode. Its costs are totally unpredictable, and its brand is always at risk. But the proactive company, it focuses on prevention. Its costs are a controlled investment. Its brand reputation gets stronger, and the final outcome isn't fines and recalls, it's innovation and fiercely loyal customers.
And that really brings us to the core idea here. Proactive safety isn't just a defense mechanism to avoid getting into trouble. It's about building something positive. It's about creating a brand that people genuinely trust and rely on. And in today's world, that trust is probably the most valuable asset you can have. Which leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you look at your company's approach to safety, is it just a shield, something you use defensively to block fines and lawsuits? Or have you sharpened it into a sword, an offensive weapon you can use to build trust, drive innovation, and win in your market?